call the golf committee in session. All are present. As you all know, we have one item on the agenda, and that is to come up with a charge for the Harwich Golf Advisory Committee. I did, and I have not received any input from Jeff Handler. I am going to make this part of the minutes. Jeff did send me a text probably a week and a half ago after the select board meeting, which he says the overarching theme was that the charge was very unclear and gave the golf committee no direction. Next steps. The golf committee was instructed to meet as many times as they want to create a draft of what the golf committee thinks their charge should be. No other involvement with Cranberry Valley or its employees until further notice from me. The liaison, Jeff, will meet with employees, the TA, and others to create our version of the charge. I am hopeful that the above will not take too long to accomplish. And then at that time, I will meet with you and get your committee's input. The board will consider all drafts and come up with a final document. Once this final document is complete, I will meet with you and the entire committee to go over the new charge. Please keep in mind that until that time, there will be no involvement with Cranberry Valley. I am happy to have a conversation with you if you would like. All the best, Jeff. So that is the charge that we have been given. And we really have taken, I think that we did a very good job writing the charter that we approved, a few weeks ago. And that, I think a lot of you reviewed that charter and came up with your own feelings, direction of what the charge should be or what it should look like. So in doing that, I did get a number of really very thoughtful insights into what you all feel is the purpose and the scope of the golf committee. That's about all I can say. I looked at them. I sent sort of a synopsis to you all yesterday, and I think we probably can start from there and see where this leads us.
I guess one question that I'd have is, what's the difference between a charter and a charge? I'm still confused as to what the heck the difference between the chart, your document.
Yeah, I'm not.
Almost seems like a rewording of our charter that we proposed. So I'm not sure what the difference between a charge and a charter is.
To me, it seemed, oh, go ahead, Carol.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
I'm a little confused by one of the statements that Jeff made when he said our charge was confusing. We never had a charge.
Right.
Our charter was confusing.
And then,
And then we
Came from that.
redid it. Was his comment that our newly revised charter that we submitted to the revision committee, is that what he said was confusing? Or was he referring,
No, he's referring to what's in the town charter.
but he called it a charge, I believe, in what you read.
I mean, at that select board, they seem to be using charge and charter interchangeably.
oh, really?
That's what because they jumped right in. The chairman, Mary and Jeff both spoke right out of the gate and both talked about a lack of clarity in a charter, but then charge was being thrown around. Now, also at that meeting was the woman who's now the committee chairman, I believe, of the Charter Review Committee, who provided the example that ultimately we all had to look at for a charge. And to me, what I saw as a difference, my interpretation is the charter is very legalese, if you will. It's written in that like point number, 7.13.1, whereas the charge to me seemed to be in more vernacular, if you will. But it's still not clear. Like, does the charge become an official thing? But the way I took all of this was, okay, we spent a bunch of time as a group writing a charter, approving a charter. I think the majority of the words that were in the charter
New draft?
get cut and pasted. The charter we agreed to that night when only the 5 of us were here, a lot of the words in there can be cut out and repurposed. Like, for instance, we said in 713-2, the purpose of the Golf Advisory Committee is blah, 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 blah. Well, the first thing in the charge is, what's your purpose? Okay, we already defined our purpose. So that's why I think there's a lot of overlap, and it's really in the presentation of it. And so I think, number one, it's really important that the two documents, the charter and whatever we ultimately have for our charge, be incredibly similar. They shouldn't in any way be different or conflicting.
Right.
And I think it should make our job here this evening a little better. Martha, I just want to say 2 things into the record. I don't know who's ever going to watch this meeting of ours, but number one, when I had the opportunity to speak to the select board, I pointed out, from my perspective, just how this lack of clarity is a problem. I asked the select board to do 2 things, though, to give us clarity, which they're asking us to work on clarity with them, but I also asked for them to clarify their goals. And I still find it difficult for us to know that we're shooting at the right mark without having better clarity from the select board. So I'm just on record, again, asking the select board to please provide some more clarity on goals for the golf course, if you want us to ultimately be successful. And the other thing that I'm gonna say, and I hope I don't drive this whole committee down into a hole, I find our liaison's language in his email to you, where he says the committee should write its charter, and he will meet with the town employees to develop our charter, to be disturbing. Because I feel like it's already set up as an us, the town people and him, or the town employees and our select board liaison versus us. And maybe that was a slip of the pen, but I think it's telling. To me, it feels a little bit concerning just where we're starting out. I'm going to remain optimistic that we are going to get to a good place soon, but I do want that on the record as well, because I don't think that's appropriate language from our liaison.
Well, I was shocked that, being on this committee for 9 years, and being told that I had no interaction with the administration at the golf course. I couldn't even talk to them. I felt it was a gag order. And I was offended.
Yep.
Martha, may I make a comment? Also, kind of going along with what Michelle said, but also being at that meeting with Steve and Mark, the select board meeting. I wonder whether the select board read our revision, our charter revision language at all. I can't imagine they did.
No.
They seem to refer to the old language. They didn't say, well, we read your rewrite and we still think it's confusing. They said none of that. Furthermore, I think the first thing that Mary said was, she spoke about the critique from Sean and from Roman, and I guess I was astounded. I will speak to first Sean. I don't believe that in any committee meeting that I've participated in, that any committee meeting that I've attended as a member of the general public, that I have ever heard anything but the highest of support and praise for Sean Fernandez. Never once did I ever hear that. So to hear that he might be upset because we didn't support him, or he was upset by our critique of his performance, was astounding to me. So I don't know where that sentiment is emanating from. It was pretty shocking. I think those of you that weren't there might have felt the same way.
Well,
I could.
Oh.
I wasn't present, but I did watch the film at the recommendation of the chair, and I paid careful attention to it. And my reaction was, I thought the confusing charter language was the original charter language.
Yes.
They may or may not have read the redraft that we recommended. But there was, and also I must say, with you, Carol, I was appalled to hear that Roman and or Sean were uncomfortable, I think was the phrase we heard. Uncomfortable. That was a quote I thought I heard at one point in the meeting. And then it was reiterated, I think, in the article in the Chronicle. I think the phrase uncomfortable was, and I felt badly about that because I also feel very strongly, my recollection is we've been very, very supportive. I mean, I think the golf courses run beautifully, and I think it's a jewel and all the rest of it. So on that piece of it, where I think we got into some discussion of our language was when the charter, we had that meeting with the Charter Commission, and I assume that our liaison was present.
Yes, he
Yes.
was.
Yes.
And because there were comments about concerns about the direction. And I just want to lay it out before we get into the details of this. What I think our red line, I perceive, whether we like it or not, and we can be offended by it, but what the red line is any time it appears that we're trying to provide any kind of supervisory
oh, yeah.
responsibilities on the director of golf and or the staff. And so I think we need to look at whatever we propose. And I know some of our language in the charter had something along those lines, provided in a timely way with a chance to review, et cetera. I don't know if that was a trigger. I'm just saying, let's use that lens as we consider this so that we can maximize, the most consensus-oriented approach we can produce. But it was pretty disturbing to hear some of the stuff that took place at the discussion. I was pretty unhappy to hear it.
It was. Now, three of us were present and we intended, the meeting that was canceled, intended to report to the rest of the committee how that meeting went. And we walked away feeling it went extremely well, as it was received by the Charter Review Commission itself. They had one suggestion, and it was simply about the number of, putting out in our language, the number of times we meet, how often we meet. They said you could kind of leave that vague, so you're not locked into anything. That was their only negative or feedback, and it wasn't even negative. It was merely a suggestion. On the other hand, they particularly liked language that we had presented to them, which talked about working with the director of golf. And we fully intend to do that, to be a support to him or her, whoever it will be in the future. But there was absolutely, Michelle or Mark, correct me if you think I'm wrong, they said nothing but positive feedback to us on that.
Yeah.
And you said Handler was at that meeting?
Yes.
He was, he didn't, he's the liaison for both
For
committees.
both committees.
So, I don't, he didn't express at the beginning what role he intended to play, but he certainly did not provide us the feedback that he chose to provide at the select board, which could have been a little more helpful had it been provided that evening.
One of the things that I recall when I watched the video of the meeting was he mentioned something to the effect that the board wanted to be part of Roman's review. Or
Yes.
the golf committee wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I
never,
don't know whether that, I don't know where that came from.
I can explain what happened, and I tried to that evening at the select board, because when we presented to the committee and we talked about our responsibility working collaboratively with Roman, but then calling out why in the final paragraph, we said the director of golf will work collaboratively with us. We changed that whole paragraph around versus what it used to say about reporting relationship of the director of golf. And the fact that we wrote, and meet regularly with us and provide the committee with timely information that gives us adequate time to make recommendations. So we talked about that in the committee, that if we do not get information on a timely basis from the director of golf, we as a committee have nowhere else to turn. And so that's a critical information flow to us, and that's why we thought it important to call out. And so then the committee started to kind of bat that around, and they, that's helpful, that makes sense. Boy, that would even make sense, I believe one of them said, if you maybe even gave performance feedback if that was happening. So then we said, yeah, that would be great if our chairman were afforded the opportunity to do that. That was all. It was not clearly, our document never said it. We didn't proactively go there, and but it makes sense. But, okay, if that's, but we also would never sit here as a committee in a public forum debating the performance of the director of golf. That would be completely inappropriate. And so the comment made was, if the town administrator were to reach out to our chairperson to find out, was information being provided, that might make sense. And that was all that was said. And I believe our liaison made it sound much bigger, worse, and as if we're trying to have the reporting lines of the director of golf changed. And nothing like that was said or written or anything else. And so that certainly did us no favor, the way that was said, because you could see how the whole select board erupted. And we lost credibility on something we've never said we wanted.
See, another thing that I've struggled with in reviewing this whole process is, and I've only been on for maybe 4 years now, but I can't ever remember us establishing a policy.
Yeah.
At least in my time period. Martha, you may have different,
Well, we
perspective.
can't, right? We recommend policy.
Right, but I can't even.
I can't either.
Remember ever recommending a policy. Now, I'll like to talk about for a second, rates and fees. To me, that's somewhat of a policy.
Yep.
But our role has been to either agree with Roman or not agree with Roman. We haven't recommended something relative to that activity.
But if I could jump in.
Yeah.
I view that a little bit differently in that when we were talking about rates and fees, probably 4 years ago, Martha, maybe 5, it was the board, it was the committee that suggested we make the Chatham membership fees equal to all non-residents of Harwich. And we talked about it, and we discussed it, and we said, we're not gonna do it in one fell swoop.
Right.
We're gonna do it each year for 3 years until we get that and until it becomes equal. That was wholly and solely an idea of the committee
Right.
that we all talked about, discussed, and approved.
But is that a policy, Steve?
Yes,
What's the policy behind
Yeah.
it? And I'm not trying to split hairs,
Yeah?
but to me, in going through what I thought policies might be for the golf course, I mean, some of them that, the tee time interval shall be 10 minutes. Is that a policy, or is that an operational objective?
Yeah.
I don't know. The director of golf shall establish a budget for the expenses necessary for the efficient operation of the golf course. Is that a policy, or are they unwritten, or are they, does a policy have to be actually written down
Very good
to
question.
establish it? I mean, some of the things that I know we've sort of skirted on, should we have a cap on non-resident members? I know Captains in Brewster has a cap on their non-resident members. So are these policies that we could have a chance of implementing, either, or is Roman getting, say, a different direction? Is the, you mentioned, Michelle, what's the goals from the
Select board.
select board? To me, one of their goals ought to be, the golf course ought to be is self-sufficient and not incur a burden on the taxpayers of the
The town.
town.
Yep.
And I don't know whether they would view that as, one of their objectives, but that's the whole thing. We keep talking about recommending policies, but I can't, other than, if you want to view that, Steve, as a pseudo-policy,
Yep.
that's the only thing I think that we've suggested that's, in my 4 or 5 years on this committee.
that was
So,
followed
Yeah.
through.
If I,
But we always take a look at the long-term goals and so forth, and, and capital plans, the whole issue of the irrigation system, et cetera. We discussed that and kind of
Right.
agreed with Roman's approach.
Right.
Sand
that's policy.
traps and,
Is it, I guess, is it policy?
I would say it's policy.
Would it be easier if we just removed the word policy and said we make recommendations? And just lose the word policy? We make recommendations related to semicolon, rates and
That's the
fees,
magic
whatever.
word.
The list we
Is the magic
ultimately
word.
agree to.
I agree.
It might feel better,
Yeah,
because that is what, they're all of such
Yeah.
differing nature,
yeah.
right.
that maybe we just say recommendations and lose policy.
I would 100% agree with that. I think 3 meetings ago, we sat here and said, what is a policy? What is an example of a policy? So at one point, we asked our liaison, are rates and fees a policy? And we got 2 different answers at 2 different times. Yes, they are, no, they're not. So if you say rates and fees are a recommendation, That's very clear. But as a policy, I have difficulty wrapping my arms around everything that we're doing and calling them that. It doesn't seem to fit.
Yeah, if I could,
Maybe it's just me.
That- that-
go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with
Yeah.
Carol.
Yes,
I
I agree.
don't understand the policy issue.
Yeah.
My view on this, or thoughts on this, I love the new draft charter that, Martha, you pulled together with inputs from everybody, and hopefully we'll get through that very, very quickly, et cetera, et cetera. I think the problems that we've had in the past were somewhat caused by a confusing or vague charter, a charge, whichever term you want to use. But I think more importantly is the execution, the operational execution of what we do and how we do it. I think we have received some direction from our new liaison and the select board at that meeting, which is basically we work for the select board, and if we believe as a committee, after having a discussion in a public meeting, voting, that we think something warrants going to the select board for a decision to be made, whether it's a policy or a financial decision or whatever the case may be, that we use our chairwoman as the conduit to the liaison to take it to the select board. I think we need to be consistent in our approach on how we do these things operationally and build a system within our meetings that we do that. I mean, for instance, just by way of example, I think virtually every vote that we take after a brief discussion on an agenda item, one of the questions that we vote on is this something that we think should be taken to the select board? We as a committee. And we discuss it, and we vote, and if the majority says, yes, this is something we would like taken to the select board, then our chairwoman, as the person who's the conduit to representing us all as committee members, takes it to the liaison and says, this is a recommendation. I love the idea of recommendation as opposed to policy. This is a recommendation of the golf committee. This is why they feel that way. The vote was 6-0, the vote was 5-2, whatever the vote is. And then the decision makers, i.e. the select board, get to hear that information, and they make the decision on the policy.
You know what, Steve, I think that's excellent, and I think that is going to happen. I think that's almost understood that we as a committee operating today, that would be a natural flow.
But it's different than the past flow.
Certainly,
We've got to be honest.
Is the past.
No, but
Steve, we haven't made any recommendations.
No,
But we have to learn
For
from the
8 months?
past. We can't
I
ignore the
think we
fact
have.
that how we got here as a committee, where there were certain people that felt going into that select board meeting, there was a certain percentage likelihood they were gonna disband the whole committee. And it was because we didn't have those operational
No,
procedures.
Steve, I
designed.
completely disagree. The confusion and why in my opinion, why this committee has not advanced much of anything has nothing to do with a lack of operating procedures. We haven't discussed anything substantive this year.
Right.
So that's not because of a lack of operating procedures, that's because we're shooting in the dark at topics. 3 months ago, maybe, we said, let's start to talk about the budget now, so that we could get in front of it and maybe actually make a recommendation. At that point, it became a very confusing conversation with our liaison, who told us we didn't have access to information. we spun around for a while and never got to anything that was on our agenda. And from that point forward is really when things fell apart for us. So I agree, a good committee has to have clear operating procedures. But we can't focus on operating procedures until we have
We know.
the path clear, the strategy clear, just these couple of things, and have because the select board told us, don't do anything else except a charge. Don't talk to me about if I watch that meeting and I see operating procedures, do not pass go. No, they were because Steve, you said you actually started talking about some of this, and Mary was very clear, and she said, no, you need to focus on the charge. So I
Yes.
want us to focus on that. We only have an hour left tonight.
Yep.
Steve, I'm aligned with you that once we can get this part aligned through the select board, I feel like things will become clearer, and we can, I think, hammer out some of those critical operating elements in a meeting, once we have their blessing to move forward.
Okay. I'm just concerned that when I wanted to talk, and again, we need to, what I heard in terms of at the select board meeting is a next step, the first next step we have to take.
And the only next step we
No.
can take, yeah,
No?
Yes.
oh, it was very
Do you want me to
clear.
read this again to you, what Jeff wrote to
In
me?
the email summarizing the select board.
Charge. That is it.
Yeah.
He's gonna write a charge.
Carol's-
We're gonna write a charge. We approve it
Carol
as.
stood up at the end and said, will you cancel our future meetings? And he said, no, but the only thing you can talk about at your meetings is a charge until the charge is complete and aligned through the select board. He was very clear about it, because that caused a resident to jump up and say, I'm concerned that you're canceling meetings of chartered committees and so it was, to me, it was clear. I don't know, Mark, did you take away anything different? I don't want,
No, I just think,
my memory is clouded.
I just feel like whatever happened in the past, I feel like there's a black cloud
Yeah.
over this committee for things that happened in the past. And it's a new team now, and I just don't think we're getting the direction that we need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just letting
Right.
us float out in
Yeah, I
by
agree with that,
ourselves.
yes.
We don't want to run the golf, I don't think any of us want to run the golf course.
No.
I don't.
No,
I don't.
no,
And-
we don't
and
want
we've
the
had
employees
nothing but
reporting.
good
to
Well
things.
run now.
That's
It
right.
certainly is.
That's why
Look
the
at- look
course
at-
is in
It's
such
very
great
well
shape.
run.
Look at the satisfaction survey.
Yeah,
I mean, that's real data.
yeah.
And the vast majority of it was extremely positive. So clearly, the people that took the time to do the survey think the golf course is being run very, very well.
I need your help. Let's see if we can use the next hour
Yep.
to write a charge. And it doesn't have to be more, I don't think, than a paragraph. If we want to look at what we wrote and accepted as our charter and feel that we could use some of that wording and create a charge and accept it and give it to, because I have to give it to the liaison, because he's already written his charge, and I guess he will compare his charge to our charge.
Well, he's supposed to, based on his interviews with the,
Right, with the
with the,
administration.
yep. My only, an observation is, I think the more we try to get into financials, I think the more we're gonna get resistance. Roman's getting some direction from the town administrator.
You're right.
I don't know what it is. He gets some kind of direction. Keep your budget within 2% or whatever their guidelines are. I think the more we try to interfere with that, the less receptivity we're going to get. Because the town administrator is Roman's supervisor.
Yes.
And he's providing some Roman, I assume, and this is
But-
assumptions, he's providing Roman some guidance about budget. I want you to be 2% more than last year, or whatever his number is.
Yep.
And I think if we all of a sudden start coming in, and I don't know whether that's where Roman feels, he's getting harassed or whatever his characterization of us was. But if we're creating a conflict for him with the town administrator, then I think we're in a no-win situation.
And I don't disagree with what you said, but it's important to note that the town administrator works for the select board. So if we take things to the select board, and the select board hears what we had to say and reviews it and makes a decision, they then dictate to the town administrator.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, the
my
fact
only
that the
feel
town
is-
administrator doesn't want to have the committee involved in the financials, I don't think is his decision. I think we need to broach the issue and,
Then you're creating a conflicting, rather than collaborative, you're creating a conflicting relationship with the town.
Well, I think what would be important, let's assume we can get this written. And if the scope, if the scope says something about, how is it written right here? Near and long-term capital plans, it says budget review, fees, rates and fees. I mean, if this gets agreed to by the select board, then information that is in support of those things, I think what we then would do is say, this is the information we believe as a committee we need in order to be able to make recommendations on these things. And then it becomes less of a, why are they asking for that? And it should be really clear why we're asking for whatever we're asking for. So to me, that linkage between, let's get agreement on what our remit is, so that then when we ask for information, nobody's scratching their head.
Yeah, but you're gonna take this, and I think, to me, maybe other than a few word changes, I think this is a reasonable document. But now you're gonna have to meld that with what let me say, the employees' version of what they would like us to do. And I just,
Oh, see, yeah,
I'll
I'm
tell
in
you.
agreement with you. If what comes back is, we have a mandate that is nothing, well,
What are we doing?
not sure that nothing needs my time.
yeah,
Why have a committee? So I think that's when also we'll have a reality-based conversation. I signed up for a committee that I thought had certain accountabilities. And if that's not the case, okay, then I'm sure there's other people who'd be happy to be part of it. But that's where I think we then have to say, we're concerned, but okay.
In one of my conversations with Jeff, when we were talking about things that we wanted to get involved in, one of them was rates and fees. And I brought that up to him. And he emphatically said to me, you need to stay away from rates and fees. That's the director of golf and the town administrator's job, is rates and fees.
So no,
So this is what happens.
this may be what he said, but that's not right. It is not the director of golf and town administrators'
Well, and even.
prerogative to decide how the town's money is going to be set on the golf course. It's the select board. They make the final decisions on any major appropriation, on the budget, on the targets that the town administrator places on his or her employees. They are the governing board, not the director of golf.
And the select board even commented that last year, when the director of golf brought forward his rates and fees recommendation, one of the select board members said, and I noticed I did not get a recommendation from the committee. And so we had no choice but to accept that what was brought forward by the Director of Golf, but I hope in the future to get your recommendations.
But they did get a recommendation from.
They did.
The committee said, we don't agree with this budget, but
They
there was
didn't
no
get-
one.
But there was, yeah,
No one representing the
That's right.
committee at that discussion.
but there was
Oh, and-
also no
Well,
alternative.
We had a 3-3 vote,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
so we didn't reject it.
No, we
No.
just said
Did
we
not-
didn't
didn't
agree
reject
with
We
it.
did not support
No.
it.
But that information that we
And it was-
discussed it and had a 3-3 vote never made it.
It's the
To
first
the
time
select
that I've been
board.
on the committee that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
It did.
And you know, we didn't have the opportunity to pull one little element. It was one piece of that rate and fee that we didn't agree with, and we had no opportunity, so we either agreed with it all,
Right.
or we disagreed with it all. So we have to figure
good
out
point,
ways
yeah.
of getting a way to navigate through things like that in the future.
And one thing I must admit is concerning to me with the latest communications you've had with Jeff. Way back when he first was named liaison and he came to our meetings, we did at one point in time talk about money in the budget. And we
Yeah.
asked about that
Yep.
$511 or $551,000. And Jeff said, yeah, that's a reasonable request to understand
Yeah.
what that goes into, and I will go try to get the answer to that. I've yet to hear, I don't know if you have, Martha, as the chairwoman, have you ever gotten an answer to that question?
But
Because he sat here in the meeting
But
and
didn't he
agreed to it.
also, Steve, say, and I don't know whether it was the same meeting or whether it was a subsequent meeting, when you were talking about, I seem to recall, when you were talking about financial information, and he said, as a committee, that's not available to you, but as a private resident, it is available to you. For some reason, I seem to recall that
I do
comment
too.
or feedback
Yeah.
being made as well.
I
So
do too.
that's why, to me, I'm just leery about the financial aspect of.
Yeah.
Could I ask you a different question? Do you think we should be involved?
Oh, I totally
Then we're gonna
agree.
put it in,
Yeah.
if we all agree we should be. And we'll see where it goes.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
Let's not be afraid. Let's put it in and let
Yeah.
them tell us.
Let's have good
nope,
debate about each thing that we
it's
say,
none of your
so that we
business, go
all.
away, okay?
Yeah,
And Jeff is our liaison, so he's going to liaise to the select board what we are recommending.
No, I think he's gonna take what Roman wants and what we want and see if he can come up with a.
yes, that's what he
compromise
told
or
Martha
a-
he's
or
gonna
a
do.
merged,
Yeah.
Split the baby.
yeah.
And I guess then we just see whether it's something that we each feel we can contribute to the,
Well, and maybe I'm being naive, but I'd like to give Jeff the benefit of the doubt that when we ask him to take something to the select board, even if he doesn't agree with it wholeheartedly, he is going to give an unbiased representation of what the committee talked about, how it voted, and what their reasoning was. And you just have to rely on your elected officials to represent you properly. Maybe I'm being, like I said, Carol, maybe I'm being totally naive, and it will be totally biased to what he personally thinks, or the town administrator or Roman does.
I hope you are absolutely right.
But we have the opportunity to attend select board meetings or view them and see if that's the case. But I'd like to believe that by default, the select board is gonna wanna say, well, what did the committee talk about? And what was their vote? Geez, they voted unanimously for this? And they will take that into consideration before they make their final decision. That's my hope.
So maybe we should get back to what Martha
Yes.
was,
Yeah.
Do we need both a policy and a scope?
A purpose and a scope?
No.
Pardon me, a purpose and a scope?
I think so.
I think so, and it could be semantics, but I think that the purpose, just stating at the highest level, like, why do we exist? We're gonna make recommendations in the best interest of the residents
Yeah.
related to the golf course. I think there is another purpose of this committee, though, which is it does provide the open forum, discussion of matters related to the golf course.
Right.
For town residents to hear, because that would not happen if this committee went away. The select board does not have time in its agenda to have that monthly forum. So I think the two things are important to call out, I believe.
Also, too, it's interesting to note in the packet that Martha sent to us all on the Traffic Safety Committee charter and charge, just as an example.
Yes,
It did have first paragraph purpose, second paragraph scope.
Right.
And it's my understanding this was approved by both the charter committee and the select board.
yes,
Yes, it was provided
So,
to us by the charter.
We're sort of following that same format
format,
that
Yeah,
was
That is
successful,
starting
at
to
least for a
use.
different
Yeah.
committee.
right.
Well, I know we're supposed to create a charge, so that's the reason why I asked, do we need to do
Yep.
both?
yes,
We
this
need to
is,
do both,
And
we'll
you
do both.
started it all.
Yep.
Right. Well, we,
So
So if
does
we-
anybody see any problem with the purpose?
take out the
Take
word
out the word policy.
policy. The
Okay.
purpose
Take
of
out
the
the word
golf.
policy and the word "and" in the second last sentence, second last line. So it would in my view, the purpose of the Golf Advisory Committee is to provide recommendations for consideration by the Select Board and to represent the best interests of the residents of Harwich on matters related to the municipal golf course, period. The committee provides residents with the opportunity to voice concerns and bring issues to the attention of the committee, comma, town staff, comma, and if necessary, the Select Board.
Got it, agreed.
I
Don't
would
you think?
agree. Yeah,
Yes.
I like
Those
that.
two minor
Okay,
adjustments?
Okay, beautiful.
And my only question, or a question I'd like to throw out to everybody is the first bullet under scope, the first bullet, not the paragraph, when we talk about maintenance and operation of the golf course. Is that crossing the line where we're
I'd be-
giving the impression
I'd be
that we're trying
concerned-
to,
I'd be
that we're
concerned
trying to
about that.
manage Roman and/or Sean?
I'd be concerned about that.
we can take it out.
Yeah.
what part is that?
See
the
the,
first
see the
one.
first bulleted one,
Oh.
Carol?
No,
Yeah,
Let's operate.
yeah, I would take that
I
out.
would take it out.
Looks like we want to
Just
run the
kidding.
golf course.
Yeah, I,
Just came up a lot from you all.
yes, I'm just throwing it out for discussion.
I
I'm
don't
not
think we-
necessarily saying we should, but
No, I
I'm
think
worried-
I'm trying to
That's a good
get us over that
observation.
hurdle of,
If
they
we
think
do.
they're managing Roman and
You
Sean.
take
all
out a
of
couple of
sudden.
other words in that opening sentence too. The
Yeah.
charge of the Golf Advisory Committee is to be
I would take
involved
it all out.
in,
Go
take-
back to what the
In the
Traffic
what now?
Safety Committee has. The
I'm sorry?
committee shall undertake the following, just I would take almost all of that out. If we look at the Traffic Safety Committee, it just says the committee shall undertake the following. It's just really crisp and clean. We've already said our purpose. The Golf Advisory Committee will be involved in the following recommendations.
and then do your bullets.
Or the Golf Advisory Committee will be involved in the following recommendations that may impact the sustainability and that competitive position piece, I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
And then if you just lose I think if I look at the Traffic Safety Committee, I think this part about working collaboratively goes someplace else. I don't think it fits here.
I don't think. it fits
These
at all.
recommend, okay, so just take
Take out
out
that
the
whole
whole
sentence.
last
Take
sentence?
that out, yep.
That takes out any potential effort on our part to
Okay.
manage
Yes.
the
That's
director of
fine.
golf.
The charge, no, the Golf Advisory Committee will be involved,
This is a new sentence, Michelle?
I'm just rewriting it now. The Golf Advisory,
Take out
Should we do
policy.
The
the
first
infamous,
sentence.
do you think we should do the infamous, will include but not limited to?
sure.
Yes.
So if new things come
Yeah.
up
The Golf
that
Advisory
that are
Committee.
more in line with our new charge, we can still talk about it.
Good.
The Golf Advisory Committee can make recommendations. That may impact the financial sustainability and competitive position of the municipal golf course,
Oh, you're reworking the whole thing.
yeah, related to the following.
I thought you were just reworking the second sentence.
I know. Then I went too far. I went too far.
She got on a roll.
I went
Good
too
for
far.
you.
I went too far.
Just ruined my whole paragraph.
So what if we kept that sentence and just took out policy?
The goal,
We did.
but we don't need to say the charge of blah, 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 blah. So just,
I thought maybe he may like that because it actually says the word charge.
but again, this is what the Charter Review Committee gave us as somebody's charge, as a commission's charge.
So we hand it
And
to
they
them
don't
and
say
say,
the word
here,
charge.
this is
Yeah.
our charge. and
Yeah, this is
how
our
it reads."
scope. We don't need to say, under scope, our charge is. Our scope is, and you don't reiterate it, so then it's just,
I was being super sensitive to their
I-
words of charge.
all right.
You know,
The Golf
Carol, if
Advisory
it's
Committee,
really important to them, they can stick it back in.
Yeah.
They probably won't be happy unless they make a change to whatever we come up with. If that's all they do, God bless them.
You writing that for me, Michelle?
yeah, I am, but I'm just,
Okay.
So it now starts with the Golf Advisory Committee.
yes.
Shall be involved? Or
You
is,
want to say shall be involved in recommendations? Shall be, will be? I don't know the difference
About
enough about
providing
shall and will.
recommendations.
Yes.
in
the Golf
providing
Adv-
recommendations
And provide
that may impact the financial
Will, or will be
sustainability.
involved?
in providing,
May allows, shall commands.
the Golf
All right,
Advisory,
shall be.
May and shall, two different meanings.
the Golf Advisory Committee shall be involved in providing recommendations that may impact the financial sustainability and competitive position of the municipal golf course.
Period. Yeah.
These recommendations may relate,
See, I think because there is what we call him, an incumbent, I think you need to keep the director of golf involved. You can't operate independently of him.
is that the scope of our committee, though? Or does that fall under, if we go back to this Traffic Safety Commission, something like either procedure or conduct? See, I think it can go under conduct.
Yep.
And we say something like,
Yeah, when and if when we define more operational details, that's when we can say that, you know, as part of our regular meetings, the director of golf will be an invited guest to present a monthly, you know, his monthly director's report, or something like that. So we put it in the process, but we don't put it in the charge.
I think it goes in the charge. I
Okay,
do. I
all
just
right.
don't think it goes under scope. So, under procedures, the way this traffic committee was written, it says the committee will hold periodic meetings. I think we would have something that would say the same thing. And then, under procedure, because now we're talking about our meeting, something like the director of golf will be invited to attend these meetings and present information related to the golf, you know, something like that into the blah, blah, blah of the golf course. So that would go under procedure, and then under conduct, how do we conduct ourselves? We will work, so what is this? Committee shall post meeting notices, blah, blah, blah. Okay, ours would say, of course, the same thing. And then the committee will work collaboratively with the director of golf when developing recommendations, and the director of golf will work collaboratively,
I shall provide information necessary.
and will
to-
provide, or we can get rid of work collaboratively with us and just say he'll provide us with information on a
Necessary
ti-
right,
necessary
I mean-
information on a timely basis.
For the recommendation.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be hard-nosed here, but I don't like working in collaboration with the director of golf in our charter at all. I mean, it's been made very clear to us that, again, Roman and Sean work for the town administrator. Roman doesn't have to work in collaboration with us unless the town administrator tells them to do so. But we also don't want a scenario where we as a committee think A, as representatives of the taxpayers at large, and Roman says B, and the only thing that the select board and/or our liaison hears is B. It's.
But we're not a satellite.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
we
can't
work closely.
independently with Roman.
We need to function with the director of golf.
Right?
We must.
I don't think collaborative, to me, doesn't mean we control him.
Yeah.
No,
It means
does.
we're listening to him, we're asking him questions in a professional, appropriate way.
Well, it goes
All
both
right.
ways,
And he's,
collaboratively.
yeah, collaboration is a
Collaboratively
two-way
is a
street.
positive word.
Yes,
It
it's
is
a
a
good
positive
thing.
Not
word,
afraid
and
of
it
it.
was
Yeah.
taken as a very major positive when we presented to the Charter Review
Yeah.
Committee.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
All right.
I feel we should
Right.
put it in.
so let's get
Clear
scope
around
done,
the-
because
on
I
the
think some of
minority
these
here.
other things, we can bang out some words and get them done in 35 minutes until the select board's gonna take the room.
Yep.
Could, did you do some revision on scope already?
Yep. So, the Golf Advisory Committee shall be involved in providing recommendations, that's too much words, but that may impact the financial sustainability and competitive position of the municipal golf course,
Period.
period. These recommendations can relate to the following areas, but are not limited to.
Now we gotta figure out what we're gonna leave in there.
Yes, so we said maintenance and operation is out.
Can you take out the word can? Because they are related to them, right?
Okay, yep. These recommendations relate to the following areas, but are not limited. Relate, yeah, I'll get that wording in the right order. Yep.
Or relate to, yeah.
Relate to, but are not limited to the following areas.
Mhm.
When it says, do we want budget review after near and long-term capital plans? They feel like two different things to me.
Yeah,
As a
I think
separate
they
vote.
are.
you
I
mean?
agree.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So near and long-term capital plan should stay.
yep. I don't think budget review should stay.
Take
We'll
that out.
cross that out.
Take that out.
Altogether?
Maintenance on operation of.
No, I think we should have involvement in the budget, not the approved budget. Once the budget for the current fiscal year has gone through the process of being approved, that's approved. But I think on things like the 5-year capital plan,
Near and long-term, so we have that, near and
Got that.
long-term
but,
capital plan.
but I do think we want to come right out and say that we want to be involved in the budgeting and prioritization of longer-term projects.
Capital, you're
What is-
talking about.
What is that?
Because the
look like?
budget review to me sounds like, how much are you spending on fertilizer?
Yeah,
Oh, what's your salary and compensation
Okay,
budget?
so maybe just capital budget review. I
Yeah,
don't know, I just.
near and long-term
I don't
capital.
want to shy away from saying we need to talk about the money because it affects everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you look
But
at it,
Steve, what is, that when we say near and long-term capital plans, that's what we're talking about?
yeah, okay.
You want me to put capital budget plans?
No, that's
Okay.
fine, you're right. You're right,
Okay.
thank you.
Strategies related to rates and fees and membership levels.
That's good.
Maybe a third,
Membership
maybe a
levels
third
and-
rail based on your conversation, so we can put it in.
yeah, we'll put it in.
Do we want to, or is it too specific to talk about, for lack of a better term, tea time allocations? Because one of the things that we've skirted around a little bit, we've never
Well,
really
that's the
talked
operation of
about
the
it
golf
is.
course.
No, that's also, you could include that in long-term viability of the
Yeah.
golf course
Yes.
operation.
And I suppose we also get to talk about it in terms of the member satisfaction levels.
See,
Yeah.
So we've got membership satisfaction.
see, is
so-
that a losing battle too? I mean, what do you envision member satisfaction level means? Are we gonna develop the survey, or is Roman gonna keep, I mean, Roman right now does a survey provides us information, and that's it. You know, what isn't clear is if there was something in there that says, hey, this stinks, you
Yeah.
know.
We didn't see it.
What are we doing?
Well-
How can we support
How
any
do you-
changes to?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about it as a committee, because you think about it, the two biggest negatives, the only two real big negatives in that satisfaction survey was the
Traps.
and the lack of tea time availability for members.
Yep.
And if we start capping potentially non-resident membership, increasing the percentage of member tea times, all of that is gonna be, is gonna have budget impact, but also, it certainly is, I think, our charge to look at what the public said in that
Yes.
survey and say, if those are your two biggest concerns, because the other one you mentioned was traps. I mean, Roman's got it out 3 or 4 years.
No,
Before he's
7
gonna,
years.
7 years before he's gonna do anything with the traps. It was the single
yeah.
biggest negative situation in the survey.
So I think, had we had the opportunity to have that meeting where it was going to be presented, I was going to ask to get the details of the report, not a summary. That's up here. People had the opportunity to put in verbatims.
Comments, yeah.
What I've always learned from these kind of surveys in my whole working career is the devil is in those details, and you need to
Exactly.
read those comments. And you can gloss over, but when something's rated a 3 on a survey, that's a 1 to 3.
Right.
3 sucks.
Yeah.
If 3 is not a good, I should not say 3 sucks. 3 is not a good outcome. They did not choose a positive outcome. So the statistical analysis of such a survey would tell you that. So I think what this means to me is, someone take us through the details of this, because this is where the members, some of whom, 2/3 of whom are residents, are speaking. And we should definitely pay attention to what they're saying. So that, to me, is, so it's not about writing a survey. It's ensuring the survey is written in a way that it is statistically meaningful. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out, but,
Yeah, but all I'm saying, Michelle, is he's never asked us for any input.
yeah,
He creates the survey.
yep.
Whether
Right.
it's statistically meaningful or not is.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
Yeah,
yes.
because-
Yeah.
But he's done it, and then he gives us the summary, if I look at what's been the experience so
Yep.
far.
Yeah.
Well, and that might be an area where we would say, we think we want, considering where the problem, what have been the 3 biggest problem areas for the last 2-3 years? If they're the same things, let's explore those with a couple more questions at least, so that we can understand it. So member satisfaction level stays. I would remove annual survey. I mean, is the tool that will be used.
Do we want to talk, do we want to get any more clarity on that in terms of member satisfaction levels or I don't know, projects in response to?
And remedy plans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Remediation plans
And
based
remediation.
on member satisfaction levels?
Yep.
Yeah.
and possible improvement plans.
Because I know the people that I play golf with that know I'm on the committee, and they said they did do the survey, because everyone I talked to, please, 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 we need your input. They said, okay, but we don't think anything's gonna change or be done right. What are you guys gonna do about
Right,
it?
so that is
Meaning
the
us on the
point.
committee. I'm
Yeah.
saying, hey, you very good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
All right, so the 3rd bullet has a bunch of things wrapped in it, or the 4th bullet, 3rd after you take out maintenance and operate. Other major items
Yeah.
that could impact,
Do we
I think-
really wanna say operational changes? Is that, again, crossing that line?
I don't know, I
We're
don't
trying
even know,
to
I
dictate
don't
to
know
Roman and Sean.
if somebody
how to
could
do their
provide a
jobs.
little more clarity on what that means, because I'm uncomfortable with that language, for exactly what Steve just said.
Yeah, I'm fine to take it out.
Yeah, we're not in the hiring and firing
Exactly.
Yeah.
business.
You know,
Operational
I'm not gonna
changes.
tell Sean how often he needs to fertilize. I have no idea. And as you were saying earlier, the course is in great shape, so whatever he's
Yeah.
doing, he knows
Yeah.
a lot more than me.
When we say
That's for
course
sure.
infrastructure, does that mean like irrigation? Is that what that means? Does anyone, I
It-
just,
It could be resetting tee boxes, for example.
okay.
Yep. Yep. And we never really got resolution on that
No,
last year,
That was supposed to be on the last agenda, that got
they
canceled
say
too.
that
was
they're
it?
not gonna really,
No changes?
re-rate it for 3 years.
Another change could be, we do not know what is happening with a short course or a putting complex. That will be a major change to the operation, so we should have input into.
But that's near and long-term
That's,
capital.
that's a near and long-term capital that we will absolutely be involved, I hope. The town administrator
Yeah.
doesn't want us
So
to.
you're thinking of taking out that fourth one or third one with the elimination of maintenance and operation? Just take it out altogether? Or rewrite it?
Where are we?
Other major items that could impact the long-term
Oh, yeah.
viability of the golf course, and then the parenthesis you don't like. But do you not like any of it?
No,
mean, I'm
I
just trying to
think,
figure
I
it out.
think
No.
course infrastructure changes or improvements, based on what Carol described, I think that makes sense. I don't know then, between facility changes or improvements and course infrastructure changes, if
Well,
there's,
facility changes could be the clubhouse itself, or
Yeah,
bathrooms, or
the restaurant.
Yeah,
okay,
the restaurant.
Yeah.
all right. So that's good, I like that. I like all of those things staying
okay.
and leaving it kind of as is, like other major items, and then we list some possible examples.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this missing anything?
don't-
We've got the capital, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
We've got rates and fees and membership levels. We've got town, or member satisfaction and possible improvement plans.
Is there anything in the operating budget that would exceed 50,000 or 100,000 that would be unique that we want to be involved in, or is it just things that are capital, you think? I'm posing the question. I mean, I certainly don't want to
Yeah.
question Sean or
Yeah.
Roman on,
Yeah.
they need $800,000 a year for
Yeah.
fertilizer. Okay,
Yeah.
fine, if that's what you say. But I don't know if there are other things
don't
that
think the
wouldn't
budget's that
necessarily be capital. Like if we redid the tee boxes, would that be a capital
Oh, I
expense,
think
or
it
would that
would.
come out of the
Operational
operating
changes.
budget?
I
It
think it
depends on
would.
if you do it one at a time.
Depends on how they do it. If
Yeah.
they wanted to do them all, it would be a capital expense. If they do them one a year, it's a.
But if they do one a year and it's gonna take us 18 years, do we wanna be involved in having a discussion and potentially making a recommendation that it happen sooner than that?
It's a
But
course
that would-
infrastructure
but that-
change, and
but-
we could weigh in on
That's a
that.
good point, very good, yep, okay. If it's covered by infrastructure change, I'm fine.
Yeah. I agree. Anything else anybody thinks is missing from this scope? So let's read what we have. The Golf Advisory Committee shall be involved in providing recommendations that may impact the financial sustainability and competitive position of the municipal golf course. These recommendations relate to, but are not limited to, the following areas: near and long-term capital plans, strategies related to rates and fees and membership levels, member satisfaction levels, and possible improvement plans, other major items that could impact the long-term viability of the golf course. Possible examples include course infrastructure changes or improvements, and facility changes or improvements.
So we knock out operational changes or enhancement recommendations.
Yes, we took that out,
And
because
then,
that sounds too close to home.
and then we changed, we added something about remediation plans for
I
the.
said, instead of remediation plans, because it might sound a little too negative, I said
Yeah.
possible improvement plans.
There you go. Possible improvement plans based on the member satisfaction survey?
Yeah, so I had it all as
Results?
one, like, one bullet is membership satisfaction levels and possible improvement plans,
Perfect.
in the case that there is a gap.
Yep.
Do we want to spend a minute on procedures and conduct, just so we can work out this collaboration piece?
What's that gonna be called, operational?
I'm sorry, the next
Following
thing,
up.
procedures is the next
Procedures.
See,
thing?
we're following,
Yeah,
this is the example that the traffic committee had that got approved.
so under procedures, if we look at what traffic had, I think our first sentence would be, the committee will hold periodic meetings as necessary to accomplish the procedures set forth above.
Oh, and I like the parens at least monthly, because
But we
certainly
don't
can
even
call.
meet at least monthly in the wintertime.
You don't wanna.
And
you
that
don't
was,
wanna limit
that was
yourself
the
to that.
feedback from
Right,
the,
That was the feedback.
Yes.
So
from the charter
eliminate
committee was,
at least monthly.
Okay,
yep. I think I would recommend here saying the director of golf will be invited to attend the meetings and asked to provide predetermined information which provides insights into items related
Agenda topics,
to the
agenda.
agenda topics. Perfect.
and I don't know if this is too specific, but in order to try to expedite the meetings and all the things we go through, do we want to ask Roman to provide that a week in advance? So that rather than him reading, he takes 20 to 30 minutes just reading the report. To be frank, if we had it a week in advance, we can read it, and then we can
Just ask questions.
we can ask clarifying questions
Yep.
and be done with it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's almost like Roman is touting all the nifty stuff, which he does wonderful stuff, but we don't need to lose 30 minutes of our meeting every month to something we could read. And it will take him no more time to do it. He does it every month. So we're just saying, instead of waiting until Friday or Saturday or before our Tuesday meeting,
I don't think we
We're
need
getting
to
to
get
management.
specific, but we could
Getting it
ask
to
for
management.
timely
Yeah.
reports.
I'm worried about that.
He might feel like he's being pressed to get this information out, which,
I mean, I've always
And
thought he was pretty
maybe
concise.
that, and maybe that isn't understood.
Yeah.
It seemed to me that when we went to the Charter Review Committee, they clearly understood that when you're getting a report, you need to get it so you have a chance to read it. That's just business practice we all have lived with.
yep,
So maybe we don't have to say it in this.
we just
If
ask
it
Roman.
is,
Yeah,
and if we have an issue, then we need to, through our chair and through the liaison, go to the town administrator and ask if he would ask him to please deliver them in a timely fashion. So maybe it doesn't, I don't know how you all feel.
I think the less we have of that language, the better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I'll buy that.
So did we net out with, the committee will hold periodic meetings as necessary to accomplish the procedures set forth above. The director of golf will be invited to attend the meetings and provide predetermined information which provides insights into agenda topics. Sounds good?
That sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And under conduct, then, the committee will post meeting notices and maintain minutes as required under open meeting law, exactly the same as traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The committee will work collaboratively with the director of golf.
Yeah, under conduct,
Yes,
There we go. I think that,
and do not say he will work collaboratively with us.
Okay,
Take out the last sentence.
Yeah.
probably the word collaborate means that you're both
Yeah.
working together anyway.
Hopefully it does, yes.
Yep. do we want to say anywhere we didn't say it in the charter, and I'm not suggesting we go back. I like the charter as it is. Do we want to say anywhere in the conduct or in this part, do everything we can to try to encourage public participation?
We can say that, I don't know what that means, that's what
You've
concerns,
got it under
because
purpose.
Yeah.
You've got
One
it-
of the things I'm reacting to is, and you can, everybody can tell me to shut
Yeah,
up, go
the
away.
purpose, we
Is,
have that.
is if you look at our agendas, our past administration says right in the agenda that public comment is limited to 2 minutes. That's the first line on our agenda every month.
Well, it has to be
if
though,
I'm-
Steve.
To me, if I'm in the public, I'm saying, they don't want me to come here and express my opinion. They won't, I mean, how much can you say in 2 minutes? And so, something as simple as trying to reinforce the fact that we want public involvement, because that simply gives any decisions we make more
I
credibility.
think that's in all
That's
the
in-
committees.
Yeah, and you know, but I also
select
wanted to say
board's
that
2
what you
minutes.
were saying is in our purpose. We start off right in the very beginning. I don't know if we need to say it.
Okay, all right, that's
Okay.
more, I guess, of a tactical operational procedure.
Well,
I just
I mean,
think,
Well, it's
we
not
don't
bad.
really limit it, Steve. I mean, we might say that, but I
Yeah,
don't think we've ever limited.
we
it.
never
No.
cut people
then
off.
what, then maybe we just delete it.
I
that's
think
the
what it
reality.
does is it affords the chair the
Not in our agenda
opportunity,
now.
it affords the chair the opportunity to
Yeah,
truncate someone if they're not moving a topic along.
I just think 2 minutes is too short. But anyways, this is not the time or place.
The town administrator, are we going down to,
To which one?
Do we have to do all these?
I don't know
No,
if we have to
it's
do
just an
that.
example that they got,
Yeah,
I mean, I think we've fleshed out a pretty good
you know?
I agree.
do.
list here.
I think
I
so,
agree.
too.
I don't think there's, I guess the question I would ask is, does anybody feel like there's something major we haven't said? Either that we should be doing, how we should be doing it? Steve's last point was a good one, like, should we have something more in here about residents? And I think we batted it around and said, no, it's good where it is, but is there anything else like that, that somebody feels like, hey, that flavor's not in here and it should be?
Again, I
I
have,
think we've hit all the major
yeah,
areas
If not,
that
we'll
we
hear about
want
it.
to.
yeah.
And we present this, I present this to the liaison.
Yep.
He will review it,
Mm-hmm.
give me feedback, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we look at the next step, because we
Well-
can't meet until this has been approved.
right.
Yeah.
Well, he's also, I mean, I think, and I don't care whether it's just you, Martha, but he's also supposed to generate a perspective from the town employees,
Right.
and I hope he would share that with you.
I think he would. I hope he would.
Yeah.
Because it'll be interesting to see what their
Do
perspective.
we,
Yeah.
Martha, does it have to go through Jeff before any review even by the charter committee?
Yeah.
Because the charter committee seemed very open to working with us and
Yes.
getting
Oh,
this
they
squared
are.
away and
Very.
stuff.
Oh, they are.
And they could provide us some feedback as well.
Yes.
That's eventually going to the selectmen.
But that
But
goes,
is the charter committee review charge?
I
no,
don't think so.
I
no,
don't think they do.
No.
Oh, I thought they did.
I don't think
no.
so. I don't think they need
Just
to.
the thing that we have to realize is, and they keep informing me, the charter has such a process. Just doesn't, it's not just accepted by the select board. It goes to the
meeting.
town
Town
meeting
meeting,
and
right.
everybody votes on it.
Yeah.
So this, I was told by Mary, this takes years to get this charter approved. So my feeling is, I want to get the charge approved so we can
Yeah.
Continue on.
continue as a
Yep.
viable committee.
Yep. I agree.
right, because basically,
Get over that
all of
hurdle.
our business, all this year is has been put on hold.
Right.
We have
Oh,
no
it has.
report.
Yep.
We have no status on anything that is happening on the course. And so we have our hands tied behind our back. And personally, I don't think it's our fault. I think we were operating in, just moving along as though what we have just written is what we were doing.
Do we need to make a motion on this? Charge.
Yes, I
Yes.
would.
Absolutely.
And can we all get a final copy?
I'll
Sent
get,
to us.
I'll get that from
Yes.
Michelle,
Yeah.
and I'll send it out
Thank
to
you.
all of
But
you.
you can't do that, you can't approve it
We appro-
outside of this meeting.
It has to
Right,
Right.
No,
I just want
no.
documentation of
You
what
wanna
we
have it.
agreed on. Yeah,
All right, so let me,
Do you want to?
like we did last time, we'll
Yes.
read it section by section.
Yes.
I guess we can vote section by section? Or just read it section?
I would
do
read
the whole
the
thing.
whole
I thought
thing,
we had
Do the
the
whole
end.
thing.
and then
To be
we'll
in
vote on the
pretty
whole
strong
thing.
consensus, I think, so
Okay.
far.
Provide nope, not policy. Purpose, provide recommendations,
So
Or
you're
can-
you're taking out the purpose of the golf advisory committee?
no, we'll do that. The purpose of the Golf Advisory Committee is to provide recommendations for consideration by the Select Board and to represent the best interests of the residents of Harwich on matters related to the municipal golf course. The committee provides residents with the opportunity to voice concerns and bring issues to the attention of the committee, town staff, and if necessary, the Select Board.
Do we want to include town staff?
Because he's here.
But he's an invited guest, he doesn't have to come.
Okay,
And
that's true.
so if he's not here, there is no town staff.
Okay, we
Ditto.
can remove it.
And certainly any resident is free to go talk to the town
Yeah,
staff
but
member as
I
they
don't
so
think you
choose.
I guess to me, the only question is, should the process be, you can't keep Roman out of the loop. If you go into the select board, I hope we would,
Oh, to a
It's-
I
town
hope we
employee. Okay,
would go to make a Roman aware of this is what we're recommending to the select
Yep.
board. Otherwise, I think you're gonna be in a confrontational
I think you're right.
relationship.
yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we can so then when Martha's meeting with Jeff and he says, well, why does this say town staff? He's not part of your committee. Well, what that means is if we do get issues that he needs to be aware of, we're taking it on as a responsibility to bring it back to
To
him.
him.
And I guess, I mean, if he agrees, would you need to go to the select board?
Yeah,
I don't know.
and that's why we say,
Maybe
if
not.
necessary, the
Maybe not.
select board. Yep,
Yep.
okay. Scope. The Golf Advisory Committee shall be involved in providing recommendations that may impact the financial sustainability and competitive position of the municipal golf course. These recommendations relate to, but are not limited to, the following: near and long-term capital plans, strategies related to rates and fees and membership levels, membership satisfaction levels and possible improvement plans, other major items that could impact the long-term viability of the golf course. Possible examples include course infrastructure changes or improvements and facility changes or improvements.
Would you take the word possible,
Mhm.
how does this sound?
Possible improvement plans?
Just examples. So other
So
major
possible,
items.
she said possible examples.
Yeah.
Well, they are examples, right? So,
Mhm, that's fine. Other major items that could impact the long-term viability of the golf course. Examples: course infrastructure changes or improvements, and facility changes or improvements. And we've already said it's not limited to these things, so if something bigger comes up.
Yeah.
Okay, then we move on to procedures. The committee will hold periodic meetings as necessary to accomplish the procedures set forth above.
How about, well, to accomplish the scope set forth above?
To accomplish the scope set forth. Nice, that's good.
Mhm.
The director of golf will be invited to attend the meetings and asked to provide predetermined information which provides insights into agenda topics.
I like that.
Conduct. The committee will post meeting notices and maintain minutes as required under open meeting law. The committee will work collaboratively with the director of golf.
And that's it? That's the end?
That's
That's it.
what we have written,
Motion, we
okay?
approve that document.
Second.
All in favor?
Want to go one
Aye.
by one?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Okay,
But it would be good if you just send it out.
I
now.
will,
Yep.
yes,
Now that it's been approved.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We
We'll
made it
wait
to
for our-
5:26.
Next step.
Well, we'll see if Jeff has any feedback for you, Martha.
Yeah,
So, the current charter reads, "The committee shall recommend governing policies to the maintenance and operation of the municipal golf course for consideration by the Board of Selectmen."
Did anybody have a copy of this page, which was in, online? Was taken offline it was online as of 8/7/22. And it was all about the golf committee and all of the wonderful things that we did, and,
Who posted it?
That's probably Clem put that up.
Yeah, I think there's an annual report.
our mission statement,
Yeah,
our
we did the
vision
mission
statement.
Yep.
We spent a whole year on both of those.
who put that up there?
Clem put it
Fun.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a place in the town report
Yes.
for an annual report for
Right.
each committee.
yeah,
But that's also, there's a golf committee webpage.
Page.
Yeah, this was our webpage.
Yeah, there's a lot of little, and we'll probably learn, is anybody else going to the open meeting training on the 28th?
oh, I've been,
Have you?
I
Yeah.
went last year.
it's
Okay.
very good,
Is it?
yes. Very professional.
Because there's a lot of little logistical things where
Oh, yeah,
we've let slide for a lot of years.
Not now.
Well, even now,
I don't know.
if you look at the agendas, all the agendas say they're posted by the clerk. And they're not.
oh, yeah, they are.
No, I'm the clerk.
No,
No,
we
no,
never
the
had a
clerk-
clerk.
But we do now.
I send,
I know, but it says on the agenda,
I
the
thought the
official
clerk
agenda.
was downstairs.
No, it's supposed to be the golf committee clerk.
Really?
Yep.
Well, now that we have one, Steve, you can do it.
But I'm just saying, I mean, there's just a
No,
bunch
I
of
mean,
little things
seriously.
that
I thought
that
the
some people
clerk,
interpret as big deals.
I thought it was,
in a
I thought
mess.
it was the clerk downstairs
Sec-
who did it.
The Board of Selectmen set.
It has to be in 48 hours before. I'll tell you, they tell you if it's not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
I know. That's great. Step one.
Tell my friend Ellen I miss her. Haven't seen her around at all.
She was playing today.